welcome to Dave Filoni. Crowd for you here today.
I know, it grows every year, I guess.
Very exciting, isn't it? They're all keen to hear about Rebels and what's going on. But how's celebration been for you so far?
That's great. This is, oh my gosh, how many is this? The third one I've been to, I think. Now I'm here in Germany. Actually, it's probably the fourth, because I was one in Japan, two in the States. And I see actually so many people I've gotten to know better over the years. You fans are always so gracious. I really appreciate it. This shirt I'm wearing actually was given to me by a fan. Little Isabella made it for me, her and her dad, and I saw them again this year. They come all the way from Australia every year, so blows my mind. And you look at that and it just cries out Star Wars. You can see a lot of the same elements that wound up in Cloud City. You know, moving forward again, you know, these different landscapes. I think this is a really early, perhaps Coruscant painting, but these giant towers. It's just, Ralph had such a mind for the future and a very specific vision of the future and what made that future work. Here we have perhaps the character you might play down in the corner there.
I like him, yes.
Obviously the man in the jacket with goggles I'm referring to. And but this landscape here, I mean, that's Mos Eisley, right? Is it? It kind of is. A lot of the same elements are there. And when we started looking at this image, I started to take note of the character proportions. And this was one of the images to me that said, well, this is an animated series right here. If I could put that on screen with this environment and those proportions, I think Star Wars fans would be pretty excited about that. Clone Wars borrowed from Ralph, but why don't we just try to be very direct about it and say, that's going to be our look? So we studied even further. And we have a next image, you know, these city streets, all reminiscent of what you see on Tatooine, but it has its own flavor to it. And it's something that you go, that's a Ralph McQuarrie painting. There's something so unique about the fingerprint of that artist that Killian Plunkett, Joel Aaron, and I really dove in and said, what makes that work? Go forward. You can see here character images. You know, I started to look at how does Ralph paint characters and what makes them unique. They're not photographic. They're not realistic. You know, the proportions there, look how round Boba Fett's helmet is. Look at the roundness of the shoulders, the thinness of the ankles on all those characters. Well, that to me is when you're doing slight exaggerations, it is an animated style. The buildings, the landscape. That is not what we did in Clone Wars at all, which was much more harder edged the whole way through. And so let's see where we go from here. Oh yeah, vehicles. The way Ralph would paint his ships, the surface detail. You and I were talking earlier about pencil lines and everything. If you look at, that was a really exciting thing was Kathy got the archives opened up to us. We went back down to the archives and looked at the original paintings that Ralph had done. They're all there. All the paintings you've ever seen, the art of books are stacked up in the archives at Lucasfilm. And we've gone through them on Clone Wars before, but we never really took a tremendous amount of time to dive in and say, let's look at the surfaces, let's look at the colors and the paintings and really analyze them. Got the whole design team down there to really dissect what was going on. If you look further, this is one of my favorites because this is such an artist thing to do. This is a painting of two Star Destroyers over Hoth, right? By then, it's really well known what a Star Destroyer looks like and all the details of it. But Ralph persisted in painting them the way that he always saw them, which is slightly different. If you look along the perimeter equator of that Star Destroyer, it doesn't have all the little greebly bits that you see on the models that Lauren Peterson would make, but it has broad, flat, smooth shapes. It has different shape engines and different shaped towers. So these are the kind of things we took note of because we wanted to create a look for this part of Star Wars that precedes A New Hope by just a little bit. And when you look at these Star Destroyers, you say, well, they might have preceded the Star Destroyer I see in A New Hope by just a little bit.
So it's basically like a Star Destroyer, but an earlier model in a way.
Just slightly earlier, yeah, between the Jedi Cruiser and what we see as the Star Destroyer in A New Hope. So these are all the ways that we're kind of delving in and really exploring this in-depth look at creating this series. That feels like where we're going with Star Wars Dust. Those are actually the first TIE fighters I ever drew. I tweeted one day because I got excited about this, that I'd been at Lucasfilm 8 years and never drawn a TIE fighter. And you can go through my childhood and find tons of old drawings of, draw the TIE fighters. Here we have, the Imperial Corridor.
I love that.
I mean, I don't know why, I just get so excited when I see that. It's just a hallway. But that's like a hallway that everybody that was a kid when I was knows. I mean, we picture ourselves running up and down these corridors. And something we didn't do a lot of on Clone Wars either is a lot of glossed reflections. When you look at the Imperials, you dissect everything. Nothing is accidental in film. I'm sure you guys reacted like I do, which is you look at that, and when you realize it's going to be up on screen again, you go, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in a long time. We've been in the prequel era. We just finished, myself, I was in the prequel era for 8 years. Take that all the way back to Phantom Menace, and we're talking since 1999. So we have Star Destroyers, and you might notice a detail about the Star Destroyer that's different if you go to the next one. In A New Hope, the conning towers on the Star Destroyers had that big X shape on the top of them. And they're actually gone in Empire and Return of the Jedi. So we've put that back on these since they preceded New Hope. It's tiny little details like that that the crew is always aware of because we want to give everybody, a very connected piece of the Star Wars history. So, yeah, Imperial Star Destroyer. Go forward. Here's a cockpit interior that follows a lot of the design aesthetics that you'll find in the classic films. This notably you might see is reminiscent of a B-17 bomber cockpit. I love B-17s, and something that's obvious in the old films is a lot of the props. There wasn't a lot of fabrication. There was a lot of taking things that existed and adding to them and kit-bashing them. So we base a lot of the parts in here on kind of the Roger Christian design sense of the classic films. And notice immediately the warm tones, which tells your eye that you're in a rebel atmosphere. We go forward. Here's our stormtrooper.
They get excited about anything bad, don't they?
They do. It's something I've noticed over the years. The villains in Star Wars are very much loved, but as you know from being a hero in the Star Wars universe, when the heroes win in the end, it is one of the most exhilarating things. We just sit and stare at this, and we realize that we've done a bunch of clones, but we never got to do a stormtrooper. So that's actually a render of the computer model of our stormtrooper. You can see if you look closely, a lot of the texture and line work is meant to represent what Ralph McQuarrie, the way he paints. And then when you get to the proportions, they're pushed just a tiny bit to be a little bit more Miyazaki-esque, I guess is the word for it. And this drives 501st people crazy because I've changed the proportions of everything again, but they're so good at making this stuff. I mean, so I have to do it. When Commander Rex came up and talked to me the first time, I was just like, that's amazing. Because it was what I drew. Yeah. So every day I'm here, things I drew just walk up and start talking to me. You'll notice that we've actually cropped the wings of the TIE Fighter shorter like what Ralph McQuarrie would draw the TIE Fighter, and we've kept the body of it smoother than all the greebly details that we would see in A New Hope. A lot of the detail on the surface, if you spin the tie around here, you can see it's actually drawn on with pencils. That does a couple things for us in production. It gives us a great visual style, I think, but it also gives us a really quick render time, which is really important for a show like ours. You'll see that it's pretty much a cross between a B-17 bomber cockpit center with the Millennium Falcon with some accents taken from different movies. Simon, Greg, and I talked about this one pretty specifically because it's a pretty big centerpiece for the show. A concept painting of what you can expect to see on the show, and we're working very, very hard to figure out how to bring that to life. Would you like to see the logo for Rebels? There it is. There's our logo for Rebels. So much thought went into this, you can't possibly imagine. We wanted a logo that really said Star Wars Rebels. And there it is. It says exactly that. And even more exciting, what's this, swag?
Yeah, some swag here.
Swag. Let's look at this. Have I seen this? I think I have. Oh my gosh. We have this exclusive Star Wars Rebels t-shirt. And we have this exclusive t-shirt of the Ghost. Like a blueprint. I always love the old blueprint books, so we thought this would be a great design for you guys. And we're going to give some of these away right now.
Oh, wait.
Is that right?
Let's do it.
That's what you told me earlier. And you can also pick these up at the Celebration store, I believe.
Yeah, they're available as of after this show.
So is giving these away based basically on your and mine's throwing strength?
Yeah. Yeah, what's that?
So the people in the back are kind of like,
Yeah, they're going to be...
is this a bad rush to the
never
front?
gonna be.
How far do you think you can chuck one of these?
I don't know, but I just noticed something. None of them are my size. Look at that thing. It's ridiculous.
That's an oversight. I think if you wash it, it'll shrink.
Not that much.
Not that much?
Let's go on, Dave. You can do the throwing out.
Yeah,
Here.
Now, is this like just give it out? They're not going to go far.
Oh, look at them all. There's a
Is there
big
a better
pile of
way?
people.
I was promised the shirt cannon.
That would have been fun, wouldn't it?
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
I think Miles stole it. Mary, what should I do? You gonna take some in the back? Here, let me get some more.
Here comes one. Whee!
They're trying to buy you out.
Be safe, everyone. Be safe. You can have one down here.
This is drastically getting out of control and probably should have been thought out better.
It is, isn't it?
My wife says I'm a terrible liar, just so you know. And she would be right. I mean, I would just put you this way. I love Star Wars characters. I love all the characters, and there's always a special place in my heart for the ones that I got to be part of creating. So I don't know what kind of answer that is, but it's the best one I'm going to give you right now.
Right. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, Dave. But